Yashoda here with West Coast Yoga. Welcome to morning class. Today we're speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 1, text number 5, which reads as follows. Ta ekada tu munaya prator huta hutagnaya sadkritang sutang asinang paprachor idam adarat. Translation. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. We're going to read a few paragraphs of Srila Prabhupada's purport for good measure. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Morning is the best time to hold spiritual services. The great sages offered the speaker of the Bhagavatam an elevated seat of respect called the Vyasasan, or the seat of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva is the original spiritual preceptor for all men, and all other preceptors are considered to be his representatives. A representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva impregnated the message of Bhagavatam unto Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and Sri Sutta Goswami heard it from him. All bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in the chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. These Goswamis restrain all their senses, and they stick to the path made by the previous acharyas. The Goswamis do not deliver lectures on the Bhagavatam capriciously. Rather, they execute their services most carefully, following their predecessors who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kuroti Vachalam Pangun Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurundina Tarinam. There is great merit in being awake early in the morning. It is said that different times of day are controlled by different modes of nature. Obviously, the morning is controlled by the mode of goodness. Naturally, living entities conducted by the mode of goodness thrive and prosper during this time. Around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, the mode of passion becomes prevalent. And this can be seen if you go downtown to any major city. There's so much hustle and bustle after the rising of the sun. People in the mode of passion love this time of day. They're always waiting for the stock exchange to open. When will the market open? What's the price? What's the selling price? And finally, around 6 o'clock at night, the mode of ignorance becomes more prominent. And this time of day is enjoyed by people in the mode of ignorance. In order to extend their influence, they have to invent so many forms of technology to offer artificial lighting. And the activities of intoxication, illicit sex become very prominent. Unfortunately, in the modern age, we're seeing an increase in the mode of ignorance. This was previously foretold by the sages of Naimisharanya that as the 4 ages progress to a degree of 25%, the lower modes of nature are introduced. And it has become so acute and so pronounced that now practically the whole population is being conducted by illicit activity. You can walk into a 7-Eleven store, what's known as a convenience store. This means that at your convenience, you can now break all of the regulative principles in perhaps 5 or 10 minutes at your convenience. And so the intent of the spiritual master and of the saintly persons is to try and reintroduce the Brahminical culture, the culture of the mode of goodness. This culture is typified by restraining the functions of the mind and practicing step by step to fix the mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a famous verse from the Nectar of Devotion, which is Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Navritam Anukulyanu Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttamam. So Krishna Shilanam means one-pointed attention on the Supreme Person, on the ultimate goal of life. And this activity is described as Uttamam, Uttama Bhakti, which means top shelf Bhakti. If you want cheap Bhakti, you can have it. There are many groups in India, even around the world. They practice a type of Bhakti that doesn't follow any regulated path. And if someone wants to, they can approach Krishna in that way, but that is not what the great acharyas have introduced, which means proceed at your own risk. When we see people driving on the highway, they are traveling very fast at a neck break speed. And Srila Prabhupada used to comment, this is a very funny point. He would say, why are people going in all these different directions in their vehicles? We should fix it up, that if you want to go north, okay, you can go north, but you can't go south. You have to choose a direction. And in that way, the traffic will flow more smoothly. So he would joke about the fast-paced rat race society. So it's true that we're going very fast, but where are we going with this high speed? We're on the highway to the danger zone, actually. We're in a hurry, but destination unknown. And similarly, if we're going to execute the path of bhakti, we should practice this Krishna Shilanam Bhaktir Uttamam, this high top shelf bhakti, which is one-pointed and which is characterized by the absence of jnana and the absence of karma. As a new student arrives in spiritual life, they may preliminarily be attracted by, let's say, superficial objectives. And the Bhagavatam has very deliberately set aside all superficial, materially motivated, dharma prochita kaitavotra paramo, what's called kaitava dharma, cheating dharma, sub-religion. Sub-religion is very popular in the age of Kali. Save the whales, save the rainforest. These activities have merit, but they're being introduced on a large scale, and they're practically taking the place of an authentic spiritual cultivation. And now Krishna has to speak Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to re-establish the most essential principles of religion, this Krishna Shilanam. And we are very fortunate that the previous acharyas and the previous great personalities, they have forsaken all comforts of life, all enjoyable objects. Personalities like Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das was the only son of his father, and he was deeply beloved of his uncle. And these two were greatly wealthy, multi-millionaires by today's estimation. So being the only son, he was the inheritor of the full fortune. He had a beautiful young wife. But after hearing about the message of Lord Chaitanya, his only business was to run away from home and take sannyas. And we're talking about authentic sannyas. The standard of sannyas practiced by Rupa, Sanatan, and Raghunath means chanting 24 hours a day, maybe eating a few grains, a few morsels, and being constantly absorbed in the Lord's pastime. We are following in the footsteps of such a high level of devotion. This devotion is characterized by the principles of Jnana and Vairagya. Originally, Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and detachment, are considered the sons of bhakti. And there's a famous story with Narada Muni, which I'll touch on briefly. Once upon a time, Narada Muni was passing, and he saw two crippled people kind of all splayed out on the side of the road on the verge of death. These were the sons of bhakti, Jnana and Vairagya. And it was the age of Kali. So Narada could understand, oh, the symptoms of Kali Yuga are very prominent. Jnana and Vairagya are practically finished. And Bhakti Devi approached Narada and says, I need you to help resuscitate my children. They've become very morose and dilapidated in their current condition. So Narada Muni had this task of determining what is the best way to introduce Jnana and Vairagya in the current world climate. And he did some research, he did some traveling, he consulted different sages. His ultimate realization was by introducing spiritual festivals, festivals like Harinam, like what we call the Mahotsav, the Sunday feast, Janmashtami, Chaturmasya, Ekadashi, the appearance day of the great acharyas, Vyasapuj, all these wonderful festivals, Ram Navami, Diwali. By introducing these festivals in the modern age through regular Sankirtan, glorification of the Lord, and recitation of his activities, distribution of prasad, deity worship, this is the best way to resuscitate the sons of Bhakti. So Narada returned to that place with a group of devotees, and they had a beautiful roaring kirtan, and the sons of Bhakti were again restored to their original state. We can take a cue from this episode that if we're going to try and introduce religious principles in the modern age, we have to have a very attractive and accessible method. We're not aspiring to make something exotic, something from a faraway land. We want to simply present the principles of religion on their own merit through disciplic succession. And by following in Narada's footsteps, we can also be successful. So thank you for joining morning class. As always, I'm Yashoda with West Coast Yoga. Please subscribe below, and I'll see you next time.